Augusta Blade of Septimont has finally arrived, and just as you would expect from a walking Soulspawn reference, she's absolutely nuts and brings us not only one of the strongest, but also free-to-play friendliest characters so far. We are today going through her kit, her rotation, her teams, or team, as well as her build, before talking about her performance in TOA, Whimpering Wastes, and Holograms, before finishing it off by dissecting her moves and talk in detail about her parry, dodge counter, and other relevant combat tools. So get yourself a drink, a pen and paper for some notes, and let's get right into it. So starting off, Augusta is a hyper carry DPS who cannot be optimized with quick swap shenanigans due to certain restrictions in her kit. Augusta, similar to other Electro DPS characters, deals a massive chunk of her damage through her second ult, which has to be unlocked first before it can be used. So the basic gameplay goal of Augusta is basically just to get her ult up as fast as possible and use it to nuke the enemies before swapping out, similar to Frolova's gameplay pattern. So to explain Augusta simply, she has 3 forte bars, so to speak. The first one is the classic dotted purple line here, and is called Prowess. Basically, you get this thing full by either doing a full basic attack combo, or by just using her resonance skill. Once full, you can use her enhanced heavy attack, which deals quite a bit of damage. That's basically all there is to this bar. The second bar is the sun in the middle, which gets filled by basically anything that deals damage. But her enhanced heavy attack as well as her ult 1 will fill it up the most. It's called Ascendancy, and once full, Augusta will get access to 3 enhanced resonance skills, which she can use in quick succession. Doing that will grant her a stack of Majesty, which is her third and last forte bar, and is the double blade here. She can have 2 stacks of Majesty, and once she has 2 of those stacks, she can finally use her second ult, where she freezes time and can do massive damage. You will, generally speaking, always have 1 stack of Majesty by default, and the second one will have to be earned by using her enhanced resonance skills. So with her kit out of the way, let's directly go to the rotation and talk about how you can get to her enhanced resonance skill and therefore her second ult as fast as possible. Starting off, it's incredibly important for Augusta to always start with her intro skill, since her intro skill gives her both 20% ascendancy and a full prowess bar. This means that Augusta should never start a rotation, which usually she won't anyway, since she's a hyper carry, and wants to stack as many buffs as possible before actually starting to dish out damage. So once you intro into Augusta, you will now be instantly able to do her enhanced heavy attack thanks to her intro skill filling up her first forte bar. Proceed to use her resonance skill right afterwards in order to fill that bar up again and use another enhanced heavy attack before using her ult. This quick rotation will give 100% ascendancy, and with that, the enhanced resonance skills. Quickly use those 3 skills to gain her second Majesty stack and unleash your second ult before swapping out. That's it. She's incredibly easy, yet very effective to play. Now before we move on, Augusta's outro skill is very special as it basically locks the incoming character out of swapping. Should you outro from Augusta into Shorekeeper as an example, and you stay with Shorekeeper in until you can outro into the next character, Augusta will gain 1 stack of Majesty. Should you swap normally without outroing, that stack will be lost, and your Augusta rotation will be pretty much dead after her enhanced skill, since you will be missing the second Majesty stack to be able to use ult 2, so be careful about that. For her build, you want to run her new tailor-made Crown of Valor 3-piece set, even though it feels miserable to farm. It's super strong and will allow you to run a 2-piece Void Thunder set, so you should at least already have 2 out of 5 good echoes since Void Thunder was farmable since 1.0. As for the echoes themselves, you want a classic 4-3-3-1-1 setup going with the double electro 3 cost echoes, and pretty much always go for crit rate 4 cost, since while her signature weapon is crit rate, it's incredibly low. This, by the way, is even true for high Augusta sequences like S2 and S6. You really don't need crit damage on that 4 cost. The 4 cost itself should obviously always be the false sovereign. Lady of the Sea is made for Yuno. We are as always aiming for high attack and good crit value, so nothing special here. You want to focus on maxing her ult and forte, as those two things do the heavy lifting for the damage. I would personally max her basic attack third, because it's also going to be more useful for overworld exploration than her skill. But yeah, it's your choice as long as your liberation and forte are maxed. As for weapons, not much to say here, since we are playing Wuva. As always, signature, lustrous razor, or another 5-star broadblade you own will be pretty much your only option. The good thing though is that while strong, Augusta's signature weapon thankfully is not another 40% increase, and she feels completely fine to play with lustrous razor. I will say though, Jian's weapon is amazing on her if you already own it, so yeah, there's also that. As for teams, Augusta is a very double-edged sword. She is incredibly free to play friendly in the sense that her best support is Motefi, but also suffers because, well, Motefi is kinda her only real teammate. You can also run Yinlin if you want to try and revive that character, but I personally just find Motefi so much better, especially because he's way simpler to play and works without pretty much anything. Keep in mind though, that Augusta has no special mechanics, so she's just like Carlotta, very self-sufficient, and there's basically nothing stopping you from running less optimal but more fun makeshift teams like Frolova Augusta as an example, which is great. While Verena works, Shorekeeper is insanely broken due to her crit buffs, especially if you have that S2 crit into crit damage conversion passive. While she has only one team at the moment pretty much, it's very free to play friendly and also incredibly easy to play and pilot. Keep in mind that Yuno is her best in slot teammate and is stronger than Motefi, granting 50% heavy attack bonus on her outro, which is insane. Now, is Yuno a must pull though? Thankfully not, since Motefi is just an amazing 4-star support for heavy attackers, and obviously an S2 Augusta with Motefi will outperform an S0 Augusta with Yuno. So if you really like Augusta but don't like Yuno, there's absolutely no need to worry. So with all of the basic stuff out of the way, let's finally talk about her performance, starting off with Tower of Adversity. By every definition, her best mode. It's a time-based mode where pretty much only rotations matter, so a character like Augusta with a very easy and straightforward to execute rotation pretty much annihilates this mode. You go in, do her rotation, nuke the field, outro out, and that's it. I will already say though, Augusta's attacks are very easily interruptible, and they of course put the interruption immunity behind her S1. So be a bit careful before using her major skills to not get blasted out of them. Other than that, there's honestly just not much to say here, since both her playstyle and team options are incredibly simple, resulting in a very straightforward and easy to understand TOA performance. As for her Whimpering Wastes performance, it's basically the same, but due to Augusta being very self-sufficient, you can run her more as a solo flex unit here, who just rotates in and does her thing before swapping out in the same way Frolova does. Keep in mind that you can do this for TOA or any mode as well, but obviously going Motefi or Yuno is going to end up with a way better performance than playing, for example, Lupa, Changli, Augusta as an example. The main difference between Frolova and Augusta is that Augusta is less flexible due to her needing her teammates to not quick swap for her to work, because otherwise, as I said, she will lose that last Majesty stack. I used her with Lupa, Changli and Whimpering Wastes, and honestly, it felt fine. Obviously not optimal, but I personally don't find Augusta herself to be optimal in Whimpering Wastes in general. The second ult, stopping time, can sometimes get you in situations where the field is dead and there are no mobs spawning in, resulting in your entire nuke going to waste, and it feels really bad when it happens. She, other than that, feels fine due to all of her major attacks being AoE, but TOA, definitely best mode by far. Holograms. Oh boy. So, I'm just going to say it, I struggle a lot using Augusta against holograms. She's way more of a optimal rotation character than a very reactive character who can adapt their combos to the enemy's movesets and not fully commit, which made her incredibly hard to use effectively against them, especially as her combat tools are harder to use than other characters. But let's quickly go through them and I will explain. Ult 2. Starting off with her best thing. Her second ult completely stops time and enemies. This means that even against enemies like holograms, you can always unleash the full ult damage here, which is something that other ult-based DPS like the Calculator have heavily struggled with ever since release. The only thing you have to look out for is to not stop time right as the hologram does an insta-kill move with precise dodge timings, as you will probably just get hit instantly afterwards and die. Parrying, a bread and butter tool of every character for beating holograms. So Augusta having one of the slowest in the game sucks. Her basic attack 1 thankfully does parry, but feels very slow due to her swinging a massive greatsword. I fought a massive variety of holograms to test her and had problems parrying attacks that I have parried a billion times before. It's not that she can't parry, it's just that it feels slow and is hard to get a good grasp on. But that might also just be a skill issue, of course. Her resonant skill parries as well, but the timing is a bit weirder here, so if I was tryharding, I honestly wouldn't risk it. Enhanced skills. As we already discussed, Augusta needs her enhanced resonance skills to be able to use her second ult. The issue is that her enhanced skill chain leaves her in the air for a long time and ends with a plunge attack, leaving you vulnerable for a ton of attacks. The enhanced skill 1 can be used to parry and give you time for the other two in theory, but the timing of that is so off that you would genuinely need to practice it to be able to pull it off consistently, meaning that a big chunk of Augusta's damage is locked behind a very risky skill combo that can easily kill you in the middle of it. The intro skill. Actually amazing. It's a time stop intro skill where Augusta plunges from the air with her sword. It's amazing for parrying, consistent, and safe as it ends with her on the ground, making Augusta's entry into a hologram fight very good and safe. Amazing intro skill, nothing else to say here. The dodge counter. Oh boy. Honestly, in my opinion, the worst tool in her kit. It's really bad, I absolutely hate her main dodge counter. It's incredibly slow and the iframes start as Augusta is still swinging the sword. This is very distracting for someone like me who plays characters whose iframes happen during the dodge counter hit. But since Augusta's sword is so heavy and slow, her iframes happen as she's still swinging. This messed up my timing so much that I still suck at using her dodge counter. It's not unusable, and this might again be a skill issue, but it's just way too slow for me. Now, the special thing here is that Augusta has actually two different dodge counters. Once Augusta unlocks her enhanced skills, her dodge counter will also change. It will now actually be super fast and do a massive backstab in the process. This dodge counter would be incredible due to how fast it is, but that backstab is so massive that it's again just a double-edged sword, as it can distance you a lot from the hologram and result in the hologram suddenly doing a ranged attack that you weren't expecting. Her having two dodge counters in general can be very dangerous, since you don't always have time to check your forte bar and see which dodge counter you currently have. This is especially dangerous since both of them are very different from one another. I overall think that Augusta's dodge counter is definitely the worst combat tool in her kit and will require more practice than, for example, Shorekeeper's dodge counter to master and use properly in combat. Enhanced heavy attack. Lastly, the final big issue with Augusta. Augusta's enhanced heavy attack has two variants. which is something I didn't mention due to the second one being pretty irrelevant. Augusta can actually use an uppercut heavy attack, which is way weaker than the ground one, which is why we generally don't use it. Now, holograms are generally fights where dodge counters are incredibly important. And what I noticed is that if you use Augusta's enhanced heavy attack right after a dodge counter to punish the enemy, you will always do the uppercut, resulting in not only less damage, but also leaving you in the air where you can just instantly die. This is incredibly dangerous and happened way too often due to how intuitive it is to instantly go for the heavy attack after dodge counter to punish the enemy. You need to generally wait and do the enhanced heavy attack on its own to ensure it's the right one, making Augusta in those high focus and difficult encounters a tad more problematic to use than others. So in conclusion, is Augusta good? Yes, she's absolutely amazing, especially due to her being so free-to-play friendly. I think she's an amazing pickup, especially for people who, for example, didn't get Zhang Liao for free and don't have a single Electro DPS. She's easy to pick up, can be swapped into quite a ton of teams, even though those teams won't be optimal, but her combat tools in high difficult battles are hard to master and can be quite problematic until you have gotten the full grasp on them. This can also be a good thing as it gives you something to constantly improve on the character. She is very strong, has great free-to-play options, is not signature weapon reliant, and is very easy to play and understand while keeping up and also beating other high DPS units. Her Soulspawn theme is amazing, and she's just overall one of my favorite characters in the game. Let me know what you think about Augusta, and consider subscribing if you made it this far, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.